Hi and welcome back everyone, it's Carrie. I am going to be doing a tutorial showing you how you can create 5-minute watercolor using some acrylic blocks, and I'm also going to be showing you how you can achieve this with different brands of ink. So I'm going to use Fawn inks as well as Distress inks and Memento dewdrop inks. So I'm just showing you the colors that I'm going to be using on each of the acrylic blocks that I've got. And I've got 3 different sizes of blocks as well. So I just wanted to show you that you can achieve this with different sizes of blocks as well, just to get a little bit of variety. So I've got a really big block here, as well as a really longer, skinnier block, and then just a really smaller size square block. I'm also going to be using this Holtz watercolor paper. It's got a textured side and a smooth side. Some of it I'm going to be using the textured side, and then others I'm going to use the smoother, just kind of going with how I feel. So I'm going to flip my block over because I didn't want to get to the grid lines. I didn't want the lines in my inking here. And I'm simply just taking my ink pad, smushing this onto my acrylic block, and then I'm going to add some water. Like I said, this is literally going to take you 5 minutes to do, and it's very fun because you can achieve a watercolor look in a really short amount of time. So I'm going to take my water bottle here. This is just my distress sprayer. I'm going to add some water right onto the color. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to flip this over, and then I'm going to smush it onto my watercolor paper here. And what makes it 5 minutes is that you can add something heavy onto this if you wanted to kind of smush down the color more into the paper. And then it will give about 5 minutes or so for it to dry onto your watercolor cardstock. And you don't want to do this, too long, or you don't want to do it too soon. It's kind of like one of those things whenever you're making a cake or whatever. If you go a little bit too long, you're going to burn your cake. And if you go a little bit too, not a shorter amount of time, your cake is going to be ooey and gooey. So depending upon what you're going for, I kind of just want that overall vibrant color. So that's why I feel 5 minutes is good. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on with my next acrylic block, adding my Distress ink colors onto that block. And I want to kind of meld the two colors together, even though whenever I'm adding the water, it will kind of do that for me as I smush this down onto my watercolor cardstock. So I'm kind of seeing, what side I want to add. So some of the color kind of did splash onto my paper here, but that won't matter in the end because I will be cutting this down just a little bit later. So I'm just going to add this onto the middle of my cardstock, and again put something heavy on the top of it because I really want this one to be really vibrant in color. And the more ink that you add and the less water, the more vibrant your color is going to be. So I'm just kind of moving off this to the side so I can work on my third example here. And I'm going to be using my Memento dewdrop inks for this. And I've got a really long, skinnier acrylic block just for something different. And I just wanted to show you basically that you could do with this pretty much with any ink that you had, whether it be Memento inks, Distress inks, a regular dye ink from another manufacturer, or you could probably even try to do this with the Distress oxide inks as well, or any pigment ink. So if you do have pigment ink, that might be a different look as well. So give that a shot. Just kind of experiment. Don't be afraid to just really experiment and see what you come up with. That's the whole point of getting creative, to see what comes about in the creative process. So I'm going to go ahead and add the water to this last block here, and I'm going to smush this on top of this watercolor paper here. I'm trying to get a good grip because I didn't want this to go just everywhere. I wanted to kind of keep it contained as much as possible. And it's okay that if some of the color oozes out or gets blobby onto your panel here, that's all right, because you can always fix that or do something in the end whenever you're creating your end result of your card. So I'm just kind of adding a little bit of water just to get a little bit of that color up. And it's okay that it didn't all the way come up. So it literally took 5 minutes to dry, and I'm not going to show you the tutorials on these cards, but I am going to walk you through all the supplies that I use on each and every card. So this first card, I used the Mama Elephant Wishing You stamp set. I stamped it down with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I really chose this stamp set literally because it was a really great big bold sentiment And I know that this particular panel was a bigger panel to cover, and I thought it went well with the bright colors. So I die cut it also with the Blueprints 27 die from MFT, and add some Lucy's Cards Rainbow Jewels to add just a little bit of extra something to this card. The next card I cut it down with some more dies from MFT, and I used this stamp set here. It's called Lovely from Concord and 9th, and it's just, I thought it was a really nice way to add just a little bit of extra something by cutting this down with that MFT stitched mini scallop rectangles die, and then taking the sentiment here, since it is separate, stamping that first part in black with the VersaFine Onyx Black, and then go ahead and heat setting this with some gold embossing powder, the word Lovely. And then just to add some extra detail around the card, since I added it to a black card base, I took my white gel pen and added some faux like dot detail and stitching around the edge, just to give a little bit of an extra border around there. For my final card, I used a Lawn Fawn set called Love Letters. I thought it would be fun to add these little envelopes in a row. And then so I stamped those down with the same VersaFine Onyx Black ink. It's a really great ink for stamping really black bolts, any sentiments or images. I also used this 6x6 pad here, the Perfectly Plaid Rainbow, also from Lawn Fawn. And then I wanted to add just a little bit of extra detail. So there's this little splatter image in the stamp set, and I used those exact same inks that I used for the watercolor portion and stamped those along just to give it the look of the ink, if you will, on the letters. And then on the inside, I stamped a little bird image with the thank you sentiment, and then added this washi tape that went well with the color scheme that I was using. And then I added a little bit of shimmer to the card with the Wink Stella shimmer pen, just in little areas on the envelope, as well as the little ink pen too. So that completes all 3 cards, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial on how you can achieve 5-minute watercolor. Here's some still shots of each one card if you wanted to see up close and personal. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer anything that I can. Otherwise, I will catch you on my next video. Thank you guys so much for watching.